Okay, so we are on video. Hi, folks. We're going to try something tonight, so have some patience with us. We'll be able to go from camera 1 to camera 2, which is just Eric.
Eric on a fax machine from like 1998.
Yeah. I was going to say Eric from 1988.
It's not the greatest quality camera, but we're working with what we got, people.
Yeah,
so.
We're going to do this more, and I think the next time we do it, we're going to have a better camera.
Yes. So we're playing. I played around with the studio. I thought it'd be kind of cool for you guys to see everything in our studio too, because I have a pretty cool basement here.
Yeah. And then once we get a little more range, you could actually see his work area, which is off to that side.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if you could see what was over here, you'd all be jealous.
One of these days I'm going to put a camera in that room so everybody can see what the home theater room looks like. What I should do, somebody's been trying to urge me to do like spotlight, like picture of the day, and like take a picture of something in there and explain what it is and where I got it from and why I'm so excited about it.
That would be a cool thing. You know what you could also do is you could create a little video intro. It should just be like a pan across.
Of all the rooms.
You know what? Here's the thing. Use the music we just heard on the video.
There you go.
Fade to the next thing. And then it just ends up on like a GalaxyCast logo.
Yeah. Another thing you can do is a super close-up picture. What's this?
All right. Or do like a blurred image of it. Can you guess what this is? It's in Bob's room somewhere. Okay. So we're going to start our audio cast now. So you're going to start seeing that. So we'll start the video cast first and then the audio cast later. So here we go. You guys ready?
Ready.
Ready, Gary?
Yeah, I guess so.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the GalaxyCast. I have with me, as always, Eric the Artist.
Hello, everyone.
And I have Gary the Stud.
That'd be me.
So we got lots to talk about tonight. We thought we would jump right into all sorts of things. We got some feedback from Hondo Falco yet again, and I actually think he's got an interesting point here. I'll read his comments quick, and then we'll respond to it. You know, Eric kind of joked that he hasn't read the book yet, so there's a lot of things.
Yeah, this is one that I'm probably not going to too much commentary on.
So here's the comments. Just finished your August 30th episode, and the question was asked, what was the real reason for Palpatine placing Rush to take over the banking clan? The truth is, I don't think it was his plan at all. I feel again that this was Darth Plagueis setting things up years ahead of time for his ultimate goal. Rush's family dies, he refers to Plagueis, and the Moons, with influence from Plagueis, raise him as their own and then is used to take control of the banks for Palpatine, who works for Plagueis, for his goal of stomping out the Jedi and seizing control of the Senate and in turn the galaxy. And he asked Gary and Bob your thoughts. I'm assuming he's also asking you too, Eric, so you're going to get Eric's thoughts with you later.
He's asking you guys.
Yeah, he probably knows that Eric hasn't read it. So.
That might be part of it.
That's scary that he knows it.
Well, we've talked about it quite a bit. So.
I was going to say, we've...
I have mentioned before that I've never been part of the whole used to be canon. We need a term for canon, non-canon.
Yeah, like...
Former canon.
People have called it like Canon B and Canon A, and I think something like that's going to have to come out at some point.
Well, there's a lot of that in terms of the novels and stuff that I never had time. I wish I did, and I couldn't get into them, and I had to follow what I could follow, so...
Well, heck, I'm reading them now, and I shouldn't. Because apparently it doesn't matter anymore, but I am anyway.
I always say, if you get entertainment out of it,
why not, right? So, and I've been talking about Plagueis a lot because, quite honestly, for me, it's a game-changing book. It really is. Once you read Plagueis,
well, that's what I told you when I
right when you urged me to read it, I was like, "Oh, it's not in the order, Gary." And you're like, "You got to read it. It's going to change everything." It did. It changes my viewpoint on the Sith. It changes my viewpoint on the Star Wars universe. Everything. It changes your viewpoint on everything. Plagueis explains so much about Phantom Menace that it's like. Now when I watch Phantom Menace, I see it completely differently than I saw it the first time. You know, like now that you've read that book, it's like you can't see things the same way ever again. So so he brings up some valid points here, and I know Gary, before you were kind of like, "Oh, I got something to say about it." So, do you agree with Hondo that Plagueis is probably the one that put Rush in this position, or do you think this was Palpatine? I mean, that's I guess the burning question that Hondo's got.
Well, I think he's right. Hondo is right on this. That Plagueis did put him in the position.
Yeah.
And because he did see the future a lot clearer than anybody else has, and Palpatine picked up on it and then ran with the. Picked up the fumbled ball and then kept running for it.
Okay. It's a valid point I didn't think about until he brought it up. I saw Palpatine as putting him in place, but I wasn't thinking that Plagueis and Palpatine might have been thinking that far ahead, that they were moving the chess pieces, so far in advance, seeing what was going to happen, and basically this whole thing was destined to be played out almost a decade before it actually happened.
Well, that's the thing I like about it is everybody thinks Palpatine was the ultimate power behind everything, and he wasn't.
Right. I mean, you think Palpatine's this really evil guy, but then after you read the book, and Eric, if you ever read it, you're going to discover this.
He is evil, but
but he's not the guy moving the chess pieces.
Right.
It's Plagueis moving the chess pieces, and
Right.
it's kind of like when you read that, you go, "What? Oh!" Like all of a sudden, like it goes click, light bulb. Like that's the light bulb moment where you realize that Palpatine's just following through with the chess pieces that have been moved into place.
Right.
So it's kind of like having a guy who's got a chess game, like he's got the game all laid out. All Palpatine's doing now is just moving the pieces where he's told, and he's going to win the game anyway, just because he's got the key to the game, basically. And that's kind of the way I after reading Plagueis, that's kind of the way you interpret things, quite honestly. And he's right. I guess I didn't think that far ahead. So Hondo, you got one up on me. I didn't think about that. So definitely was something to think about. I thought, that whole episode, like when you look beyond how bad the episode was. I mean, there's a lot of things to think about how it had an impact on the Star Wars universe and the Star Wars future. So we thought we'd talk about some things that came out this week and some information. More importantly, Eric pointed out that there was some artwork that came out. It's funny because like Eric's like, "Did you guys see this? Did you guys see that?" And like, I honestly, I've been trying like when somebody posts something on Facebook about Star Wars, I like avoid it with all costs. Like I'm like, I am not watching that.
Right. Now, I will admit, I try my best. I'm like. I want to go into the movie clean slate because I remember when Phantom Menace came out, and it was the launch of the internet age of learning everything about a movie before the movie came out.
Right.
I learned quite a bit. I remember that I learned all about Darth Maul. I knew there was a double-bladed lightsaber. I knew, there was. I learned way before the movie came out that Darth wasn't a name; it was a title.
Right.
Which I was like, I thought that was awesome. I remember all the things I learned before the movie came out that I thought were cool. And they got me excited for the movie, but I also knew a lot going into the movie that probably would have been really neat to see on screen. It would have just added to the impact. So now, with the new trilogy coming out, I am definitely trying to temper that. But and maybe it's just my trust in J.J. Abrams and the people he's got around him, I think he's really good at releasing information without ruining things. He's releasing, in my opinion, well, some of these are maybe leaks, but what he is releasing is being released really well to get you so excited and to get you thinking, but you don't know anything for sure. You don't know any answers.
I honestly, I personally, now that I've seen all the things that are coming out, I don't think they're leaks. I think they're calculated releases.
Because if they were leaks, you'd know more. There'd be more around it, I think.
Right, like that supposed leak of that Sith witch, I mean, come on, if it really was a leak, you'd see you know what I mean? It wouldn't be a hazy picture, it'd be the full-on thing, you know what I mean? I think these are all calculated. I think he's calculating
I think there's quite a bit of calculation. But so the two things that I drew attention to this week, and I've seen them all over, but we just found images of them on AnyCoolNews.com, is some concept art. And of course that always appeals to me. Thing, that's my thing. I love concept art, and I love looking at stuff. And then also an image revealed from the movie of a new stormtrooper, which is, people are nicknaming the Chrome Trooper, because it's basically a chromed over stormtrooper.
Which is funny, because when I first started, I'm like, oh, look, it's a clone trooper. Oh, wait, those are stormtroopers. Like,
now
it's like, it's so easy to like intermix those two terms together, But they look clone trooper-ish. That's why
they've done a nice job in the design department of kind of bridging,
melding the two together.
So in terms of the and for anyone who doesn't want spoilers and is trying to avoid these things, I'm going to briefly talk about what I see in the artwork and in the Chrome Trooper. The artwork itself, I find it interesting because it doesn't look like concept art to me. I'm used to concept art. Concept art is trying to really capture a visual of what that scene's going to look like. And there's certain things you do in concept art to really give a sense and feel for positioning and space. And this looks like this almost looks digital. It almost looks like they've merged some photographic elements and some digital stuff. And maybe it's just a really low-res image, I don't know. But it's a neat image because it's an image of the Millennium Falcon, and I believe it's in the air, kind of hovering above a hillside where there's some trees.
That's what it looks like.
There's a very clear lightsaber fight going on between two people, one of whom has a green blade, which could be interesting. Is it Luke? Is it another character, one of the new characters. You don't know. You can't tell from the artwork.
Right.
And closer in the foreground is some character aiming a gun at the two of them.
Right.
So there's what's going on here? Is the person aiming the gun? Is it Han? I mean, is he? Because it could almost look like him from behind. Or is he in the Millennium Falcon and this is some other guy that we don't know who the character is? And is it Luke?
Well,
is it not Luke?
And the other character in the behind what appears to be kind of like Luke is in dark robes with a yellow lightsaber, which I think is kind of interesting.
Now it could be bad
could be
coloring
like
on
bad
the
coloring
on
or
the
like
image
an
we're
orange
seeing.
because they you know. But
what it looks like to me is like a possibly a concept art from Return of the Jedi.
I was kind of thinking the same thing. Yeah. Like pull out some old concept art and throw it out
it
there.
Could very well
because it does look like Endor.
If you look at it, it also looks like he could be wearing the gear he was wearing in Endor.
Right.
At one of the
yeah, like that looks almost like his trench coat.
Yeah, like this. The battle between Vader and Luke should have happened on Endor.
Right.
Yeah,
should have happened on the planet instead of up in the Death Star.
Yeah, which is interesting. It could be something like that.
Yeah.
So, but it's a neat piece of artwork, and as we're talking about with these leaks, it gives away nothing.
Right.
It could literally be from Return of the Jedi. You don't know, and that's what's nice about it, is it just gets you thinking about the possibilities without knowing anything.
Absolutely.
Now, the Chrome Trooper is pretty clearly a shot, I think, from the film, or it's a costume shot on set with some people. You can't quite tell, but the image is really neat. And as Gary mentioned,
it's pretty clear too.
It's very clear. And one of the things that looks really cool about it is the guy's got a hood. He's wearing some sort of robe.
Yep.
But the thing I just started to notice too, he's got the shoulder armor.
He's got. It's almost
around,
it's like a metal collar.
To me, it almost looks like a Lex Luthor. You know,
Yeah.
the top part of his armor. You know.
But it kind of looks like the Imperial Guards too. So
yeah.
Where the Imperial Guard's helmet came straight down to the shoulder.
Yeah, right down to the shoulder.
Right.
So it almost looks like it might have that heel to it.
This way, it's a two-piece instead of a one solid straight.
Which brings me back to the discussion. Gary and I had a recent con we were at. We were kind of joking around, but I was being serious too. All these costumers right now are running out because there was a guy at ScareCon where we were at who said he was working on a helmet just like the ones that were in the pictures. And I said to him, you know, it would be ironic if all these costumers suddenly made what they thought were the Stormtrooper helmets based on the pictures they saw.
Yeah.
And then they get to the theater and they wear the thing there, like, look, I'm a Stormtrooper. Then they get into the theater and find out that helmet looks nothing.
Yes.
Like the concept art. I mean, I can go out right now online. It's just really weird for me. I don't know why I see this as being weird, but there's Pepakura printouts you can get of this modern Stormtrooper helmet. Pepakura is where you take. You're supposed to print it out on a printer and then cut a piece of paper out, and you get the 3D image if you cut it the right way and fold it the right way. And then basically what people do is they bond over top of that and create the helmet around the paper, and then you pull the paper out of the middle, and you've got the full helmet, and then you can cast it and do all that kind of stuff with it. But I mean, I'm looking at that going, what if it's wrong? You know, like what if what you're looking at is it's just teaser still images? What if it's just test fits?
Yeah.
What if they're just armors they goofed around with?
What if this is in the background of a shot?
Right. Yeah.
Character that you never see.
What if
the
bounty hunter that was in there for 2 seconds?
Yeah.
You know, now you just spent all that time.
Everyone shows up being like, oh,
he's in a cantina. You know.
He's new Boba Fett.
Right. Oh gosh, that man. Can you imagine if this is the new Boba Fett? We will never hear the end of that. Yeah, T-visors are out, people. They're out. so, you know.
Yeah, I like the release. In general, I like what's being released.
Yeah.
And I like what I have seen, but I also agree with you. I don't want to see too much.
I've been trying to avoid it, and it's not easy. I mean, social media makes it so hard to avoid all these things that are... I don't know about you guys. Social media kills me sometimes. I haven't watched anything about the new Walking Dead season at all.
Right.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. And I know there's probably stuff they're revealing out there. I don't want to know it. I want to be surprised when I watch it on the TV. Same thing, and I know I killed some people, and I apologize, about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That night, I didn't see it that night. I actually saw it a day later.
Right.
That's why I didn't post about it until the next day. And so I have to shut my Facebook down for days at a time until I watch that episode that I want to... And then I'll go out on the internet and be like, okay, now I can talk about this.
Yeah.
But that's the bad thing I think about social media is people go out there and start releasing stuff and you're like, I don't want to know that yet.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
here's the thing the way I've always looked at it, and this is when you go to see a movie is an artistic creation. It's being composed and put together to take you on an emotional journey and make certain reveals at certain times to give you the full impact that the director and the creators intended.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm going to go back a ways here. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Terminator 2, Arnold is a good guy. But if you didn't
I don't
know,
think that's a spoiler
here's the
anymore,
thing, though. Look at the movie. But look at the movie.
Yeah.
The movie is composed to not let you realize that for the first 15 minutes.
Right.
He comes across as being, it's another bad Terminator.
Yeah.
And I believe it was James Cameron's full intention to have the audience get tricked at that moment when he says, "Get down," and shoots the cop, and the cop ends up being metal. And it's all, when you watch those scenes, they're all composed to make him look like a good guy who's coming back to rescue John Connor, and Arnold to be the Terminator.
Right.
But before the movie came out, there was an article, and I clearly remember the title that said Arnold in a white hat ? And that's it. That was in a newspaper, and it gave away that he was going to be a good guy.
Okay.
And it ruins that entire setup and that entire work that James Cameron did to fool everybody and give him this great surprise moment. And going into the movie, I think most people knew he was going to be a good guy. Too much had been released. And now you watch that whole beginning of the movie, and it's like the suspense isn't there the way it was intended. So to me, I'm going way back, but to me it's a good example of how the artists and the creators had a big intention to do something really cool and really surprise everyone in the audience and give them this great moment, and it was ruined. And to do a Star Wars reference, what if everyone knew going in that Vader was his dad before the line?
Right,
That
totally
impact would have been
destroy Empire
lost.
Strikes Back.
That's one of the greatest moments in film history to impact people, and it would have been destroyed.
Well, I think George Lucas had enough foresight to realize he didn't even tell the actors, because he realized that was such a bombshell that even tell the actors.
Yeah, this is before
was a
internet, before
huge
everything.
risk.
Although he did name the character Darth Vader, which in whatever it is, Denmark or Dutch or whatever, it means Dark Father.
Dark Father. Right?
But
But at the same time, I don't think anybody put that together. You know what I mean? Even people who knew foreign languages did not put that together. I didn't put it together. It just. I agree with you, but all right. So here's the overarching question: do you guys think social media is ruining movies?
Yes.
Computers in general are ruining the movies because.
Okay, no. Social media and computers are not ruining movies. The people who use them have way. It always you got to blame the people because people are jerks. But
because you got all these people that are pirating the movies instead of going out and watching the movie in a theater. And
I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm Mr. Innocent in this. It's like I've never watched anything pirated. I've never by any chance seen something not rented on a.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I've never learned a secret and maybe hinted at it on social media. It happens, but. I think nowadays it's just a matter of everyone wants to be the guy with the scoop.
Right.
And it's way too easy. The tools are way too easy to do.
Right. But with the new Star Wars movie getting made with actual props and sets and stuff, it's going to make it harder for people to just go into a computer system and rip it out.
Right.
And then show a little 40-minute clip or whatever.
Right.
Or 40-second clip.
Yeah, but now as you pointed out, now they're flying drones over the set.
Right.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
I still think that was a calculated.
You think that was a release?
I really
it was a good shot. It was really
a great
composed
shot.
well.
That's why I'm saying that I think it was calculated because it's too perfect.
And again, what did it give away? Everyone has already seen.
Right. It hasn't given anything away. Like that's what I'm saying. Like if we'd have seen something new, I'd have been like, okay, somebody pulled that off. That was pretty cool. But it's calculated. You see the part of the X-Wing we've already seen, part of the Millennium Falcon we've already seen. I mean, I think it's funny that they've basically built a hangar into the side of a hill in England in order to do half these shots because they just don't trust the public to be able to see anything.
Right. Well, if you remember Return of the Jedi in Yuma, Arizona, where they were filming all the Jabba the Palace scenes and the sail barge and all that. They had to change the name of the movie because people were getting in there.
People were getting in there and taking shots of things, pictures of things. Yeah.
And that's the infamous Blue Harvest.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I do kind of think to a large extent social media is at least ruining the surprise that ability that movies have. You know what I mean? Like in our day, there were a lot of movies that had absolutely amazing surprises in it. I mean, you mentioned Terminator. Absolutely, Star Wars had some surprises in it. I mean, I even think back to some movies that, you had surprises in them that you just didn't expect. Like, you see something you didn't expect to see. Like, Never-Ending Story. If you read the book, you just never saw the creature before, and suddenly it appears. It's exactly the way they describe it in the book, and man, that just suddenly that just totally changes your viewpoint of things. Or the Dark Crystal. Imagine if the Dark Crystal was done.
You'd be seeing all the concepts and the puppets, and
not only that, but everybody would be walking around going, "Look, there's the strings." They'd be circling the strings on the screen, and I'd be like, it'd be totally ruin the movie.
Yeah.
But as kids, when we saw that, I never noticed the strings as a kid. I didn't see those things, But it's amazing to me because teaching middle school children, they catch on to so much more than we do.
Oh yeah,
and they expect so much more. So the caliber of the movies have gone up because, quite honestly, the expectation I think of the public has shot up because of social media. They want more. They expect more out of their movies.
Well, it's also even technology. I mean,
Yeah.
kids play video games that look better than movies did 10 years ago.
Right.
So it's like everything has to up to equal out to what they're already used to.
seeing. Yeah.
But I mean, social media is a great thing. The internet can be a great thing in the right hands. I still think it comes down to it gives the tools to everyone, and that allows the element that you don't want to still have as much say as everybody else, and they're the ones who are going to give stuff away and get it out there. And then, of course, because we're all interested, we feed on it. We're the ones who sustain it because we do look, and I do glance and stuff like that. But you know what else sucks too? Podcasts. They're ruining everything. They're just horrible, man.
Especially this one.
I know, especially when we give spoilers. We're really bad with that.
Or one
Filoni.
or one of the members of the podcast tells us what's going to happen 4 episodes from now.
Yeah, Filoni. But I agree. I mean, to an extent, I like social media because, I mean, let's face it, this podcast wouldn't be out there if it weren't for social media.
That was supposed to be ironic. I love podcasts.
No, but I mean, if it weren't for social media, some things wouldn't exist. But at the same time, it is kind of a kick in the pants. It's a double-bladed sword. It's great for some things, but I gotta be honest. I mean, again, going back to what I know as a teacher, it's evil to my kids at times.
Yeah.
It's a way for them to hunt and peck at each other and
bullying and stuff that goes on.
Our world wouldn't be where it's at as far as bullying. I don't think if it weren't for social media. I mean, yes, did bullying go on when we were kids? Absolutely. Do I think it goes on at the level these kids have to deal with? Absolutely not.
No.
These kids, they're bombarded with it 24/7. If you have a phone, you're getting constant text, constant, it's just constant. It doesn't go away. I think that's the difference between this generation and ours. If they're getting bullied, it's happening all the time, not just some of the time.
Damn you, social media, get off my lawn!
Well, that's what I said to my wife. I said, I do foresee a point in the future where I'm going to be like, social media sucks. Why did we ever invent this dang thing? I'm not there yet, but as I'm getting older, I'm starting to realize that maybe it's not as good as I thought it was going to be.
It's going to be when the phone goes off and then there's a hologram.
Right? Yeah.
Of a person bullying you.
Yeah. For the first time, I get to see my daughter in 3D or something.
Yeah.
Gosh, I can't. That's the thing. Like, the future. I mean, like when I think about where we're at now, it was funny because Storage Wars just had an episode where they had the Star Trek communicator. And Jared comments about, well, it just looks like a cell phone, like an old cell phone. And I'm thinking, yeah, an old cell phone. So think about that.
Flip phone.
The communicator from the 1960s looks like the old flip phone. So even that technology, which was deemed part of the future, is now deemed old. And I laughed because Gary's got a flip phone. He said that. I was like, I got a friend that's got one of those.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
see it as old, but okay.
and I can flip it open like one, too.
Eric's got one too, yeah.
Run a level 1 diagnostic. You know what? Never run a level 1 diagnostic because all that proves is you got to run a level 2 diagnostic to find out what it missed.
Right, absolutely.
But I can actually flip mine open like a...
Mine won't do that.
I wish yours could make
kind of does. But if I do it, I'm going to hit you in the face with it, like fling it, it's going to fly out of my hand.
I wish, Gary, we could make yours make the sound sort of like when you open it up.
That should be my ringtone.
Right.
And then I can flip it open and go,
yes, Captain.
talk to me.
I've always wanted to answer my phone going, damn it, Jim. Just to see if people would pay attention.
I still love that thing online that says if anyone ever calls you and you don't recognize the number, just answer and go, it's done, but there's blood everywhere.
So, yes, social media. Has it had an impact? Absolutely. We'd love to hear from you.
What do you think?
about
I really
social
want to know what
impact?
people think about social media out there because to me this is a big issue and I'm very curious. Please send us in some stuff on that.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to move on to the Clone Wars in a galactic minute. Okay, so there's that first part.
Good timing, 22 minutes.
Do we need to take a break? Or
I'm actually good.
I'm good. You good? Okay. See, usually people would take a potty break here.
Yeah, it's like, I've been drinking the whole time and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I gotta go run use the bathroom.
Okay. So, we gotta find the title of this one.
The missing.
This is where the research phase comes in. So now you're seeing all the stuff that we do behind the scenes.
The missing.
Yeah, usually in the break, we look up
The title of the episode, we read the Wikipedia.
which is always so off in description. They give it a plot statement, like 2 sentences, and it's like, is that really the episode they think we watched?
Yeah, sometimes we even have to like kind of ask ourselves, is that the right one? It doesn't look like the right description.
Amazing that Wikipedia might be inaccurate.
So here's some spoiler alerts for some people out there. I'm actually going to be getting rid of the Clone Wars and a Galactic Minute with Rebels. I know. But, it's kind of hard to do Clone Wars and Galactic Minute with Rebels.
No, because you can make up stuff.
I could, but I decided... The part of the problem is the amount of work that goes into the Clone Wars and Galactic Minute.
Those things are really a lot of work for you.
Well,
Yeah.
Not if you just make stuff up.
I still think we should do it live. We should do a quick impersonation of the episode as fast as we can, throw in our own sound effects, and just try and retell the episode in like 2 minutes.
One of these days, we should try that, but
I think it'd be
that's
awesome.
going to have to be experiment. Is
Oh,
what that's
come
going to
on.
have to be.
I can do it. I'm all for it.
You can do my part.
Yeah, Gary doesn't do voiceover work that much.
Lisa gonna kiss my girlfriend.
That'd be a good episode to do, really.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine we did one of the Jar Jar? Oh my goodness.
Especially the lip lock.
Yeah, I'd have to come up with those really special kiss sound effects for that one. Alright, so here we go. The title of this one is The Lost One. Died under mysterious circumstances years ago. Secret Jedi mission accidentally finds his lightsaber. Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Master Yoda investigates Sith and uses theft. Keep them from uncovering the Sith conspiracy. Sidious orders serving Darth Vader.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
actually
accurate.
about right.
That's pretty good.
Hey, Wikipedia got one right. Hey, what do you know? Alright, here we go. We're back to the episode.
It's a Dorian.
Hey folks, welcome back to this episode of the GalaxyCast as we discussed. I'm sorry. I'm so disgusted.
As we are disgusted.
That was last episode, Bob.
Sorry. As we discussed this episode of the Clone Wars titled The Lost One. I'm losing it now, I really am. Okay, so just generally speaking, we talked about this almost like right off the bat when the episode started. What's the most obvious difference between this episode and everything we've watched before this point?
Level of quality.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just like...
They spent their whole budget on these episodes right here.
Well, I don't know if they spent the whole budget. I think between the first 3 and the last 4, yes, they spent the whole budget.
99.9% of the budget.
I did notice as it got into the middle, like when Yoda was talking to the Chancellor,
Right.
and stuff, the old Chancellor, it did feel like that artwork wasn't
Yeah, you can tell there were some sketchy parts.
Yeah,
Like where maybe they didn't.
But
spend
like the
much
opening
time.
was gorgeous.
That
It was
whole
done
opening
really
sequence
well.
is amazing.
Was it the animation or just the guy's static
I think it was
voice?
both because I noticed the mouth wasn't great
Yeah.
with the voice, and I didn't like the visual of him. It didn't
I
seem
didn't
quite
care for the
right.
guy's voice at all.
Yeah, he definitely didn't sound like
Yeah.
him.
Which voice are you talking about?
Valorian.
Oh, that whole scene, yeah.
Valium.
I didn't
Chancellor
like.
Valium.
I didn't like the Valorum thing for other things too. In my mind, Valorum should not be alive. I mean, I know it's not canon at this point,
Can be.
but
But
I mean,
it was canon at this point, though.
well, yeah, at this point when it was made, technically Valorum should not have been alive.
Exactly.
But the other part that bothers me is it just doesn't sound like Valorum at all. I mean, like,
Sounds nothing like Zod.
Yeah,
we
I
need
mean,
to get someone who's a little more.
spend the money, and bring Zod back and have him voice it. I mean, how?
What was it? It was like 20 lines.
It wasn't even that, so it couldn't have cost them that much. But who knows where they were in production at this point. But there definitely is a significant change in the overall style. I mean, like that whole beginning sequence. I mean, it's not just the fact that they find the crashed ship and the cool vehicles that went into it. When you think about the fact that they're in a sandstorm, and you believe they're in a sandstorm, I mean, the amount of detail that had to go into that.
And the big vehicle going by with the dust falling off the...
We even noticed the sand particles in the ship.
Yeah.
Just kind of the dust drifting in the air.
Yeah, just drifting in the air.
It did look like this had a lot more.
I thought it was cool when he picked up the lightsaber, the dust just kind of fell out of the lightsaber.
It shakes it out.
Shakes it out a little bit, So we find out that Sifo Dyas, this is a ship that has crashed on this, it's a moon, right, outside of Felucia, I think is where they're at, and when they discover the ship. Now you brought up a point, Gary. I never thought of it. I came up with a quick answer, but I mean, I didn't think about it. And you pointed out that there's a beacon they follow to get to the ship. How did they find the beacon?
After
Like, how did it?
10 years.
After
Yeah.
10 years, how did this beacon suddenly turn on?
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
nobody's found this beacon in the 10 years at all.
So my only explanation, and maybe somebody else can come up with a better one, is that the beacon was weak, and by this point, maybe a ship
Damaged in the crash.
right, damaged the crash, whatever, and the ship had passed by just close enough to catch it. Maybe.
Well, there could be that, or maybe because after the ship crashed, after 10 years, it settled or something,
Yeah.
and set it off that way too.
But it's a good point. It was interesting.
It was a valid point that I hadn't thought about the first time I watched
Right.
the episode. I didn't think about that.
I liked the little immediate cut to Plo Koon appearing holographically before the
council,
the
yeah.
council,
Like-
and Obi-Wan giving everyone a nice recap of who Sifo-Dyas was.
Right.
In case you've forgotten.
Right.
Let me recap who Sifo-Dyas is.
Good job.
Yeah, I think you could almost voice Obi-Wan right there. Well, not only that, but I mean, I thought it was kind of interesting too that he pulls the lightsaber out and look at it, and like immediately Yoda's like, "Yep, that's his lightsaber." You know, like it's almost like an identifying mark. You know what I mean? Like that's his mole. You know, like,
It was a cool looking lightsaber.
it was cool looking.
But the
lightsaber.
thing I like though is Plo Koon tells everybody, scrap the ship or taking everything back to
Yeah,
Coruscant.
like everything. I want
Everything? Everything.
Everything. Yeah. I was kind of sitting there going, "Man, how are they gonna get the whole ship out of there?" But okay,
Exactly.
that's their problem, not mine. Thank goodness. You know, above my pay grade kind of thing.
Yep.
You know. But yeah, they decided they're gonna take it all back, and of course this now brings up a lot of questions because Sifo-Dyas is the guy that supposedly ordered the clones, and Yoda is actually seeing this. It's funny because I think everybody else is very like, you know, like I wonder what's going on here, and Yoda's like, "Yay, we can finally get some clarity on this." So it's kind of like, you know, Yoda's like, "Rah rah, sis goodbye," and everybody's like, "I don't know," you know, like I don't know if that's a good idea. But
Yoda's excited, everybody else.
you know, like more work.
More work for me to do.
Right? Dang it, investigations, darn it.
I was hoping to just sit here and mind my own business. Now I gotta get up and do something.
So now they send out, now if I'm understanding correctly, they send Anakin and Obi-Wan to the planet, right?
Before that, and this was a good thing you pointed out, they go to the archives.
That's right, they jump to the archives. Now, they go to Jocasta Nu, who basically says to them, "Well, it can't be right." I mean, basically,
Well, this is what she said when she was in. Oh, my phone's going off here.
That's okay.
Who's calling me? Oh, my wife's calling me.
What about her?
He's now in the doghouse.
Yeah, I may have to. I'll text her. I'll find
He'll
out.
be sleeping on the couch.
Hopefully everything's okay. But no, yeah, it was the same thing like in the first or in it was
Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones. But it's like there's supposed to be a planet here. Well, if
Well,
it's not there,
it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
It's not in the records.
Yeah.
Which brought up a point that somebody brought up online that I never thought about before, and that was somebody made the reference that what if Jocasta was a Sith operative? What if she's actually working with Tyrannus and Sidious to cover things up?
Well,
It's brilliant when you think about it, if it is the case.
I got an idea here.
Okay.
I think that when Dooku, Sifo-Dyas, Qui-Gon, they're seeing what's going to happen.
Okay.
And they're trying to stop Plagueis's and Palpatine's
Plan.
plan by setting in motion the clone army and everything else.
Okay.
So I think that there's like a third faction working against the Jedi and the Sith.
Like a mini, like, anti-Sith Jedi contingent. Like
Right.
people that don't want either side to win,
Well,
kind of thing.
they don't. They want the Jedi to get off their arrogance thrones that they're on.
Right.
And the Sith are going to knock them off, but they don't want the Sith to succeed in doing it.
Okay. Yeah, I can see
That's
that.
what I see happening. And I think
Maybe Jocasta's
Jocasta Nu was
group.
part of that like Illuminati type thing.
Right. Well, I thought it was interesting that she reveals that a lot of the information is being covered up by the Chancellor's office.
The Chancellor's office. The seal comes right up. Boom.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Imperial logo. Wham. Can't go through there. So,
It's password protected.
so they decide at this point that Anakin and Obi-Wan are going to go research the ship and what happened to the ship itself.
And Yoda. will
And
speak
Yoda's
to
going
the
to go
Chancellor.
talk to the Chancellor because that's really going to help at this point. So basically, we cover Yoda going to the Chancellor first, and I find it interesting that the Chancellor's really good at like trying to play this whole role here. You know, like,
Yeah, he doesn't hear at one point.
he keeps forgetting
the
the
name.
name.
I thought that was nice.
Which, if you read the Darth Plagueis book, he meets Sifo Dyas, Qui-Gon, and Dooku well before they even became
Right.
his apprentice and all that.
Right, correct. Yeah, I mean, like, years and years
Yes.
before. So, like, to sit there and ask, like, I don't even know who this guy is, like, they were, like, buddy-buddy. You know what I mean? Like, they were friends. So I thought that was, like, good play acting on his part to be like, a Jedi Master, who again? You know, like... And then the fact that he says, well, it's 10 years ago. Oh! Well, 10 years ago, I wasn't even in office yet.
I was just a humble senator from the
Which, again, Yoda was alive for, 300 years? Don't you think he'd remember that, like, 10 years ago? Or couldn't he have gone to a Jedi Temple computer somewhere and been like, okay, who was the Chancellor 10 years ago? Oh, it wasn't Palpatine. So anyway.
Well, after 300 years, 900 years old, whatever he actually is, right? You just start going senile.
Yoda's got a lot on his mind.
He's got the receding hairline and everything.
So you're saying that Alzheimer's for Jedi even exists?
Yeah. Because just look at him in Return of the Jedi.
This is true, yes.
He's over the deep end.
Yeah, at that point, he is definitely senile at that point. Okay, so they basically send him off to Valorum. He sends him off to Valorum and says, go talk to Valorum. I have no idea. This wasn't even something I did, So Yoda goes off to Valorum, but in the meantime, Obi-Wan and Anakin call him and basically say they've run into a ditch here,
What'd you find out with the Chancellor? Nothing.
Yeah, pretty much.
I like the line. It's like, he says something like, as usual or something.
Yeah, as usual, yeah. Like, you think Yoda at some point would get frustrated, like, just walk in there and just, like, throw the cannon out and be like, let's go. Like, I don't want to waste my time, let's go. So he wastes his time. Anakin and Obi-Wan reveal they've run into a dead end. So Yoda's like, well, I'm going to go talk to Valorum and find out what I can find out from him. So in that discussion...
And Anakin and Obi-Wan decide they're going to go talk to that race, the Pikes.
The Pikes, yeah. Well, they do reveal that they've been told that there's another Jedi with Sifo Dyas. I forgot about that.
Well, yeah, Obi-Wan ran into one of the Pikes or something, and he goes, either I don't understand them or they're not telling me.
Yeah. Right. So they believe there's another Jedi. Right. That was the belief, anyway. So, yeah, one goes towards Pikes, the other one goes to Valorum. Well, in the Valorum discussion, we find out, basically, Valorum doesn't remember much. It's been 10 years,
he sent Sifo Dyas to Felucia, and then on
with
the way...
with his personal assistant.
Actually, the initial plan was to go to Aridona, I think. One of those other ones, to go talk to the Pikes, because he was there. They were sent out to go negotiate with the Pikes.
Yes.
Because of the inner, almost the.
And that got delayed. The negotiations got delayed.
Right. There was a background war going on with the Pikes and the Republic.
Well,
at the time.
No, I'm pretty sure they sent him to Felucia to squash some rebellion going on.
I think that happened after they were sent out. They were on their way there, and then some rebellion happened. Am I wrong?
I thought the council then said, the council, the Jedi Council sent them to the moon, or sent them to go and do the thing.
Pikes,
to the Pikes.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that part.
Because of the spices and all that.
Right. So I think the initial intent was to go and negotiate with the Pikes.
Because I remember them specifically saying, and this is interesting, we're arguing about this kind of minutia, but it's it did get a little confusing here. There's a lot of little side things.
Yeah.
But they did say, it was I remember them saying something about negotiations got delayed. There was a delay, there was a pause in them, and then something happened with the spice, and they sent the Jedi and his assistant to go do something
to Felucia.
there.
Right, yeah. And I do think, I do think there is confusion even amongst us, so imagine what they all felt like, there's confusion about who was going where.
Yeah.
But the one thing that was revealed is that Valorum not only had sent a Jedi, but his personal assistant went along with him, which I thought was interesting that he'd send a personal assistant to go with a Jedi.
Yes.
I also thought it was interesting because the Jedi, I thought at this point, had a rule that no Jedi was supposed to be going out to negotiate by themselves, because wasn't that the whole point of Obi-Wan and Anakin being, or Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan going to Naboo for the negotiations because they didn't want any Jedi out there by themselves, yet here we go, we sent Sifo Dyas out by himself.
No,
this was before. Maybe that
rule
came about
because
he got killed.
That's a valid point.
And they were like, "Oh, well, now we can say
and technically, he wasn't by himself though.
Right.
With
this is true.
The Chancellor's
But I thought my understanding was the Jedi, at least by that point, which maybe because of the Sifo Dyas thing, had decided that they should have at least two Jedi with whoever goes out to do the diplomatic negotiations. So anyway, they that's what they discover, that there's this guy. So meanwhile, Anakin and Obi-Wan make their way to the Pikes, which...
And start talking to the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland, who's
Well,
smoking
there's so many things there that made me laugh in that whole scene. I mean, first off, the guy's higher than a kite. You know, like,
You had a good comment about waiting for him to be like, say dude or something at the end of one of the
Yeah,
sentences.
Well, that was the Pike dude, yeah.
they needed dreadlocks or something.
Yeah. I did think he was kind of cool. He looked like a cobra, but
Yeah,
with a weird kind of mechanical thing around his head.
We've
saw
actually
them-
experienced those
Yeah,
creatures before.
they were
Oh,
in
okay.
one of the Mandalorian episodes.
I'm going to have to go
Yeah.
back and catch it.
Yeah, in one of the episodes, the kids, remember they
Yeah.
had the kids from the academy that escaped, and
They were given the poison Kool-Aid.
Right. right, and the Pikes were the ones who were the
Mandalore.
spice dealers on Mandalore that they were negotiating with. They actually, the Mandalorians negotiated with the Pikes to be part of that, like, behind-the-scenes syndicate that was pushing money around to control the Clone Wars. But I mean, the Pikes are actually referenced in the books too, quite a bit. So I thought it was kind of cool to see like their home planet a little bit more and like where they're from and some of the things. I mean, definitely what I pictured. I always kind of pictured, you know, marijuana doped up smoking creatures, and that's pretty much what they
They gave
portrayed
you. Yeah.
right here. You know, like you said, it was just waiting
Right.
for the like catch the wave, dude. You know, like
Now another part you kind of forgot too was Palpatine.
Talking
or
to
Sidious,
yes.
I should say.
oh, that's right,
Talks to
talking to
Dooku.
Dooku.
And
Yeah,
then,
That was a good
see,
moment.
so many things happen like all within little
right. And,
points of time.
and it shows you that Sidious is getting pissed off
Fed up at Dooku.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
he
think
says
this
that
is-
line. This is
the second
not the
time
first time
yeah,
you
this-
screwed up
yeah.
or something. Yeah.
I think this is the
Force
point at which
choked
he's
him.
decided this is no longer my apprentice. I think this is the point at which he's like, okay, now you've really screwed up. The Jedi are about to find out what we did.
No,
and-
what you did.
what you did, right.
What did you do? Is what
Right.
he's saying.
Right, and I think this is where he starts to get to that point where he's like finally fed up and decides, okay, I've got to start looking for a new apprentice,
Right.
and Anakin might be the guy.
Which also goes back to what I was saying about the little splinter group of Jedi.
Yeah,
With what? Because Palpatine's like, or Sidious like, what did you do?
right. Right, yeah, that's true.
And he has absolutely no idea what's going on.
Right. So, we find out from the Pikes that, well, I thought it was interesting that they tried to give them a drink, the Jedi. Did you notice that, did anyone notice that they didn't actually
Yep.
They didn't
drink the
No,
drink?
they knew.
Because, like, the drink came up and I'm like, oh, you better not drink that. I was like, the first time I'm watching, I'm going, you better not drink that. And they never really actually drank the
No.
drink, which was drink.
They just kind of looked
smart.
at each other like, really?
Yeah, like are they that stupid? But okay.
Yeah, I don't like this flavor Kool-Aid.
So Anakin sees the chalice or the necklace from the guy from it was Valorum's. So it was Valorum's symbol, I guess.
Valorum's crest.
It was Obi-Wan that saw that first.
That's right. Obi-Wan saw it first. So Anakin pulls it into his hand and kind of forces the Pikes to reveal that this guy survived. That he's still alive. And by the way, they have him.
Well, that's the thing though. Is they didn't come out and say that.
No.
There's this other guy. They made them admit that there was a second guy.
Right. Well, I think they wanted to see if the Jedi even knew. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, if they didn't have to reveal this guy,
Exactly.
let's not reveal that chess piece unless we
Exactly.
absolutely have to. Oh, you know? Oh, okay. Well, then we better talk about this, you
Yeah.
know? And I thought it was interesting as they go to get the guy out of the jail cell. That's what the Pike's explaining. They kept him
As insurance.
as insurance, you know, throughout the whole thing. They didn't even tell Dooku about this guy. Which, you know, when you think about it, like, that's, like, massively deceptive. I mean, that's really good by the Pikes, but at the same time, like, man, could that have come back to bite them in the rear end?
Oh, yeah.
It did.
Like, worse than it did here. You know what I mean? That could have been a lot worse if Tyrannus had found out about it before this point. That could have been really ugly. I mean, he would have wiped the Pikes out, probably, just for having this guy around. So they take Anakin and Obi-Wan to this guy. The guy's out of his mind. I mean,
Bonkers.
they're trying to talk to him about Sifo Dyas.
Well, it's because he had the One Ring so long.
I know, he reminded me of Gollum a lot. Yeah, like you almost expect him to go, my precious, and pull up one of the worms and like start petting it or something, you know.
Well, I was waiting for a bigger one because he kept saying that he gets it's feeding time.
Yeah. My babies like to be fed.
And it just grow the crawl over his face.
You know,
and
his beard, they were
Stuck
in
in the
his
beard.
beard, coming in and out of his beard.
It was nice. It was a nice
All I
touch.
could think of was the chick from Ferris Bueller's Day Off that pulls pencils out of her hair. She's expecting him to go and pull a pencil out. And
There's a little bit of a Dune reference.
yeah,
there.
that too. Yeah. So, guy's out of his mind. I thought it was funny. Anakin too. Like, he's like, I don't know if you're gonna help. You know, like this isn't gonna be good. And meanwhile, Dooku lands,
Well,
Darth Tyrannus, whatever you want to call him.
this is the other thing I don't understand too is they held this information quiet from Dooku.
Yeah.
Or Tyrannus, right?
Whatever you want to call him.
And he just walks right to where they're at.
Yeah.
He's sensing where the Jedi's are, probably.
Well, okay, he can sense where the Jedi are, but they can't.
They couldn't sense him. Well, again, the Sith hides.
It's elusive.
Yeah.
Elusive. But, you know,
dumb.
Dooku, like, I mean, he just tears into the pikes. Throws guys off the ledge, you know.
Like I said,
walks in.
those guys got up that
You're not
morning.
welcome here.
Okay, honey, gotta go down and, watch the landing pad again, be in our boring day, be home for dinner by whatever.
There's a robot chicken episode. I hope Seth Green is listening right now. Like, right there's a robot chicken moment, you know, like, I'm just gonna go down, honey, and work on the docks. You know, like,
Oh, it's my last day. I got a promotion. I'm gonna be up in the tower starting tomorrow. It's gonna be great. I'll just get through
as the
this.
guy's falling down, I should have taken that promotion earlier. You know, like,
Dang it, I got off the Death Stars as I didn't have to do that. Like the janitor. Or the
yeah,
room.
I know which one you're talking about. Yeah. So anyway, Dooku quickly dispels with Pike members, and he gets to the room where the guy's at, and he force chokes him and kills him. Like you said, it's like, how did Obi-Wan and Anakin not sense
By that
Dooku
point,
number
when he
one?
starts choking, I guess they're just sitting there going, is
Yeah, and
he okay? Is he sick? What's happening
Yeah, like
to
they're
him?
just standing there looking at him going, oh, look at that, he's getting killed. I'm like, really?
Wow, and he's levitating. Wow.
Turn around and look, people. Like, at least try
Yeah,
to
I
stop
don't know if he
Dooku.
levitated. He was standing
he
on
was.
top of the...
He was,
He
yeah.
did get, oh, then yeah, they should
Yeah,
have
like he lifted him up and choked him. I'm like, hello? Like,
I
he
mean,
just kind of like standing there.
I know, it would have been nice if Anakin looked at his own hands like, am I doing this?
By accident? Like,
Wow, it would
can
have
I
been
do
awesome. It would have been awesome if one of them said, "Wow, he is high."
So they turn around. Dooku's there. They start fighting, of course. Like typical lightsaber.
There's a good
battle.
line there.
Best line of the
Yeah,
whole show,
I
I
would-
thought,
Okay, good.
is when Anakin goes, "Oh, it's about time you did your own dirty work." It's like sometimes you just have to. Or like,
Sometimes things are important.
Yeah.
That's right. Some
Whatever
of the
it
things
is.
are important, yeah. Or just that important.
Just
Yeah,
that
that-
important.
they're
It was a
just
good, it was a
that
good
important.
line.
Yeah.
Awesome line.
No, it was a good line. But then this lightsaber battle ensues. I kind of liked it. It was a cool lightsaber
It had
battle.
the problem I always have with lightsaber battles in the Clone Wars, and that is that they feel very stop-start. Like their movements are
They
always
definitely
like
were a little jumpy.
They it's this whole like every time they hit, they don't hit and bounce off and do like 3 or 4 hits. It's like they hit and stick, hit and stick, hit. And, it's like there's this feel of it. Just
Yeah,
it's got a pacing to it that always bugs me.
It wasn't Palpatine against Maul and Savage there.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
That was the best one of them.
Oh, no, I agree with you. There was definitely a unique feel to that fight. It's definitely, yeah. I mean, it was a little choppy in that there were some
It
weird...
had some good movements.
Right.
There was definitely some. I caught a couple of cool moves in there where like the two of them would. The one part where Anakin hit the ground, rolled, and Obi-Wan came over him and jumped.
Yeah,
and
jumped,
came
yeah.
down with an attack.
The one I
and-
liked was when Dooku kind of got cornered at one point, and he did that swirling motion that Palpatine does in Revenge of the Sith. And he kind of spun at them. And I was like, oh, that was cool. You know, like, I was kind of cool to see that, like, in the cartoon, finally, you know?
Yeah, and then you got Obi-Wan fought over the ledge and everything
Yeah.
else. Like,
dropping his lightsaber.
It would have been funny if he dropped the lightsaber. You know what I mean? For all the times that Anakin got ripped
Yeah.
about losing his lightsaber, it would have been funny to have Obi-Wan lose his and be like, oh, I'm never going to hear the end of this.
Yeah.
You know, like, or something like that. So anyway, the fight continues on. And
Pikes
that's
show up.
when the Pikes show up, and they reveal that
He's Tyrannus.
he's Darth Tyrannus. Which, I'm like, how could they have not connected the dots by now? Dooku's there. At this point, don't you just assume that they would, like, see him and be like, oh, that's Darth. Oh! You know, like, you almost expected them all to go, wow, why did we get that? You know,
Well, I
like,
wonder if, seeing it from their point of view, when they hear Darth Tyrannus and they see him as Darth Tyrannus, they think he's the big enemy.
Right.
That there's
Right.
not someone above him.
okay, I see.
I wonder if they're
like they're thinking he's the master.
he's
now,
the master.
suddenly.
So it takes, and that's why you keep saying, how can they never know
Well,
about the Chancellor?
well,
Maybe they're
exactly.
thinking he's the master.
yeah.
Exactly. They're thinking Dooku is the head Sith. Ventress was the apprentice.
Or even Grievous.
Or
could have
Grievous.
been.
Yeah, so it's
Right.
like there's enough going
There's
on there.
enough
that-
masking going on that they could believe that Dooku was the big
Yeah.
cheese.
And now they know that Tyrannus is either Dooku really is the big cheese, or there's someone over top of
Right.
Tyrannus now.
The one thing I liked that the one conversation that was had there was that Dooku even tried to tell Obi-Wan, I told you on Geonosis what
Side
was
with me.
going on.
Yep.
You didn't pay attention. Like, you weren't really focused on what I was saying. If you'd have listened to me and joined me, you would have known everything. But you were too stupid to listen to what I was saying. You were too upset. I thought that was, like, brilliant. Like, at a large extent, he's like kind of like saying to him, dude, I told you this. Like, why didn't you pay attention? How can you be surprised? I mean, like, it's been
Exactly.
right there all along.
Exactly. He told everything what's going on.
Right.
What's going on, everything.
So this battle ensues with the Pikes, and there's all sorts of force pushing going on for like the first time ever. Everyone's getting force pushed.
Well, I love the part where Anakin and Obi-Wan combine a force push,
yeah.
and Dooku just jumps up and they knock over all the Pikes like bowling pins.
Yeah.
That was great.
Which was great because that set it up for Dooku to jump down and kill the leader of the Pikes.
Well,
So it's kind of like if Anakin and Obi-Wan hadn't done that, he wouldn't have had the opportunity to kill the leader. It was like that was brilliant.
Well, not only that, but he wouldn't. I don't think he would have been able to escape.
Yeah, that's true too.
There might have been enough going on.
Yeah, there were enough blaster shots. At least they might have gotten, nicked him or something.
Right.
So Dooku, and in typical Dooku fashion, he's got to look gallant while he's doing everything.
Steps off the ledge with
Steps
grand.
off the ledge and boom, there's a ship.
Yeah.
Like you knew that was going to kind of happen.
Well,
But I mean, but at the same time, it was kind of like that actually was kind of cool. So Anakin, they can't reach the ship because the ship's supposedly moving away too fast. So I thought it was just funny because Obi-Wan's like,
I'll give you a push.
So he force pushes Anakin on. He tries to, kill Dooku himself. I still think, like I was saying to Gary, you definitely get a sense here, like Dooku's just playing.
Yeah.
Like you get
Now,
that.
this brings up something interesting. I got the sense in Revenge of the Sith that when they meet in front of Palpatine,
right,
and he comments about, this is going to end up the same way it did before, and Anakin's like, I've gotten better since before. I always assumed they were talking about the fight in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
But this shows that there's been
multiple
big
battles
confrontations
since then.
in between, and it's like, is he talking about how he's teased him all the way?
Right.
It's like every time, it's like it's just going to be this again.
Because if you notice, most of the time when Dooku fights Anakin, at least in the Clone Wars TV series, he's got one hand behind his back, and he's doing that almost fencing style movement, and he's not really. I mean, he's not winded. He's not really tired out at all.
He's Indigo Montoya.
Yeah, prepared to die. Yeah, I mean that's very much like that's the impression you get of him. Like he's kind of arrogant about the way he's fighting Anakin. So anyway, he tricks Anakin. He destroys the controls to the ship.
Damages the ship, so it
damages
starts falling.
the ship enough. He jumps off on his ship. He takes off, and they're basically stuck. So at the end, they end up kind of recapping the episode. But I thought it was kind of interesting this meeting with the Jedi Council because this is huge. The decisions they make. First off, they all agree to cover it up, like from everyone.
Well, because they're afraid that if the public finds out that the clone army that has been helping all along fight this war was created and commissioned by the people that they're fighting,
right,
all trust would be lost and everything would go to hell.
But I mean, at the same time, think about that. I mean, that's a significant decision they make to cover this up. I mean, that's a huge decision to cover this up. To me, that's like massive. That's pretty big. Okay, so we're going to take a quick time out, folks, so hang on.
The camera's still on, so you now get to see that.
Walking out of the room.
We'll wait.
For those of you who were concerned when my wife called if something was wrong, she dialed the wrong number. She was calling somebody else.
We like that. Dialing wrong numbers is okay. So yes, hopefully next time we will have a better camera from this angle. I mean, imagine.
I gotta see.
Imagine what that wall is going to look like. I mean, like I know it's like so fuzzy, but I mean, I have some really awesome pictures on that side.
Yeah, we could tilt it up a little higher, get more of the imagery of what's behind me.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this camera here, it's got quite a wide angle.
Yes, I think the one I'm bringing does
probably
too.
has a pretty wide
it's
angle.
Probably a pretty wide angle.
Yeah, you want to know how old that Logitech camera is?
It's pretty old. I mean, that goes back to early '90s.
Yeah, it's a '99, I think.
Yeah.
It was just something.
The one I got. I can tell you how old. It's probably not more than 3 or 4 years old.
Oh, okay.
Because I got it back.
That might even be better than that.
I got it back when I was going to go on a podcast, and I thought it was a Skype-in podcast, and I thought it was a video podcast. So I went out and I got myself a camera, and they're like, "Oh no, it's just an audio podcast. We just do it through Skype." I'm like, "Okay, I got this now, so whatever."
So just to show you guys what we got on the walls here, since we got some time.
Yeah, take a look.
Right here is Matt Bush. That was something I was really proud of because Matt only did a couple of those Slave Leias for Celebration 5.
Yeah, there's a number on it of 200.
Yeah, there's like 200 of them. I got 178. But Matt actually, he was so impressed with my Mando. He took pictures of it. He was doing drawings and stuff of it.
Very
that
cool.
he actually gave me that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was something he just gave me. He's like, anything you want on the table. What do you want? I was like, really? Seriously? Like, I couldn't believe that. And then I can't help it, but I mean, I'm sure you can kind of see it right now.
You can see the bottoms of it.
Yeah, Joe would be proud of this. I've got all 3 of the numbered prints that he did for this was Celebration 4, 5, and 6, and Joe did amazing work. If you can, I know he's still selling prints of them. They're not numbered prints now.
They're
I know,
beautiful.
but they're amazingly beautiful prints.
I sit on this end every time we podcast. So this is what I see. And
yeah,
I always
say you stare at all this.
Those
Yeah,
nice.
I don't know. There's just something about I love Star Wars artwork. I forever am constantly collecting it and changing my room up and changing what's on the walls, and I like to do that because it keeps me interested in what's going on.
Over here we have the Clone Wars represented with both Ahsoka, Yoda, and over here some of the Clone Troopers.
Yep, the Ahsoka one, that was actually one, I'm going to forget the artist right now. I think Chin Ying was the guy's name.
I can't see the name.
Yeah, it's kind of covered up by the frame. That one he did, it was commissioned work for Celebration 6, and then the Clone Wars one was a poster that's actually given out at, I think, Celebration 5 when Gary and I went to their special screening. They were handing posters out. Of course, Gary's like, I don't need one. I was like, I'm going to get one. So.
And right above Gary's head right now, although it's kind of hard to see with the reflection, that's actually Blue Harvest Family Guy special poster of Star Wars.
My ultimate favorite, parody of Star Wars. I mean, nobody's ever going to outdo Blue Harvest in my mind. You can't. There's just no way.
Well, okay. I have to go back to Hardware Wars.
When
Hardware Wars
I haven't
came
watched
out,
that all the way through yet, and I got to
never
say,
seen
watched that all
Oh
the
my
way
god!
through?
I used to watch that when it came out as a kid.
I never heard the end of it.
For people who don't know, it used to be a lot of people who like Star Wars are my age, so you probably remember. But when HBO was on, HBO would do things called short and special. And it would be between movies when they had a few minutes.
Yeah, 10-15-minute snippets.
The first place I ever saw Hardware Wars was one of those short and specials between movies. And we would always hope when that short and special logo came up, is it going to be Hard Wars again? Because they'd show it once in a while, but you never knew when. And that to us was, Augie Bendoggy and Fluke Starbucker and Chewbacca the Wookiee monster because he's a Cookie Monster puppet. And
All right, I'm going to go back just a little bit so we can hear what we said, and then I'll edit out here. Curious.
That has been helping all along fight this war was created and commissioned by the people that they're fighting.
Right.
All trust would be
Sometimes
lost and everyone would go to hell.
But I mean, at the same time, think about that. I mean, that's a significant decision they make to cover this up. I mean, that's a huge decision to cover this up. To me, that's massive. That's pretty big. Okay, so we're going to take a quick timeout.
Okay, so that's where the timeout is.
a little closer.
A little reverb.
Massive. That's
is.
pretty big. Okay, so...
Okay. And we're back. All right, you ready? Okay, here we go. So let me ask you guys: Would you cover it up? Do you think that's something you would do? Would you want to consciously cover that up?
Okay, I would make the same decision in the short term. I would at least say we can't just expose this right now. There are way too many things that could go wrong. So I have to agree with Yoda as a short-term decision. Whether or not you'd always do it, whether or not you'd come out with it at some point during wartime, sometimes it's good to keep secrets. And I think he made the right choice.
Yeah, because the press wasn't there to spill the beans on everybody. Geraldo Rivera wasn't there.
No 24-hour Fox News or anything.
Why don't they ever show scenes of Yoda coming out of the thing and everyone's like, Yoda, what's going on with the war? How are things going?
That would have been. They didn't do it with the Chancellor either. I always thought that would be fun if they had reporters that tried to
Bail Organa or Padme.
Yeah, somebody try to pump somebody for information, and we can't talk about that right now. No comment. You know what I mean? Can you imagine how funny? Comment, no. Yoda would have it. That would be so funny. That's sounding like a Star Wars parody we should do sometime. Just kind of a quick, Yoda trying to address the public or something.
Comment, no.
There's no need to worry. Everything's good. Good.
Comment you not need.
Thanks, Mr. Yoda. We're good.
So, I thought that was big that they decided to cover it up. They also decide, quite honestly, that they're not even going to reveal this to Palpatine or anybody. Even people outside the chambers.
Now, Yoda says that. Do you think there's a tiny bit of him going, I think we need to leave him out of some things because I'm not trusting him?
Well, I'm thinking this is the first moment in which they realize maybe Palpatine's manipulating. This might be the first time that they actually realize Palpatine tried to play them. You know what I mean?
I mean, they've always
by
known
brushing
he's
him off.
A politician.
Right. But they also, I think for the first time, they're realizing he just brushed them off to Valorum. You know what I mean? There was a serious brush off there. And I think that's the first time I think they get a sense that maybe Palpatine's trying to do that.
I think Yoda's putting 2 and 2 together to get 8.
Yes.
And the reason why I say that is you got the whole Order 66 thing going down a few episodes ago.
Plus this.
Right.
So when you start connecting those dots again, like I said, it's like all of a sudden things are starting to make a little more sense.
And Yoda hasn't quite put the keystone in the place as to
like where it's coming from.
right.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's rate this episode like we always. 0's a don't bother, 10's a must see. I don't know. You guys want me to go first this time?
It's up to you.
I very rarely go first, do I?
Yeah.
It's your podcast.
Okay,
It's your decision.
I will go for Eric's like, I don't decide anything. I'll go first this time. I would actually I would rate this one probably an 8. I liked it. Even though there's a lot of politics in it and there wasn't a lot of action per se. I liked it in that the politics were interesting. You know what I mean? And the action that was there was fairly interesting. The beginning, the whole Sifo Dyas thing, I just liked that whole storyline. And the fact that we're starting to finally find out more, I kind of felt like we needed that in the movies somewhere. But at least we're getting it somewhere. In the Clone Wars, I'll take it. You know what I mean? It's a better option than not knowing anything at all. So I that part I liked. I mean, I also liked the mystery behind, we don't know what happened to this guy, and we got to go like search it out. It was almost like a little mini CSI inside of this. But the quality of the episode, I think, to me, was a significant step in the right direction.
Of course, we do know what ultimately happened between the two of them.
We do, yes. But at the same time, there's little mini questions that were left unanswered that I think this started to connect the dots and answer the questions for. So Eric, what would you give this episode?
I forget. Are we allowed to do half numbers?
Sure.
I'm gonna do 7.5. 8 makes it sound like, wow, that's really good.
Yeah.
And it was pretty good, but I have to take like a half point off because I felt like it got a little too bogged down and confusing in the middle part. It's like there were a little too many who's talking to who found out what. Well, it just seemed to get. I think they could have been a little more concise with their storytelling in that middle section. Love the opening, love the visuals, love that we're now learning about Sifo Dyas. I do feel, because you always say, when you rate these, how much are they important to the overall story too?
Right.
This is hugely important that we're finding out who Sifo Dyas was and how everything was connected, so it's definitely a must-watch. But I just felt like they dropped the ball a tiny bit in terms of being a little muddled in their storytelling.
Yeah.
I like the action at the end. Like I said, I really liked the beginning. I felt like there were some muddled parts. But I gotta also see. I may revise that rating if I see the next 3 episodes and realize how it all ties together.
It might change.
I
your mind.
might up a little bit. But right now, I'll give it a 7.5.
Okay, Carrie, what do you think?
Well, I agree with what Eric is saying, and I'm going to give him a 7.
Okay.
The whole Valorium part, it was hard to understand what he was saying because his voice was so Ben Steinish. It's like
Yeah.
you lost interest.
Did
in
you guys
what-
catch like his voice had like an echo to it in that
Yoda.
scene? Like they almost
Yoda.
It's just
they almost overprocessed his voice.
yeah. You lost interest in listening to him.
Yeah.
That's what.
And what he had to say was important. I think
Right.
that's why.
And I think
It's such a
I
kick.
think that's why Eric is confused on everything he was saying. Like I said, the voice just.
Well, I'm also, and maybe this gets cleared up. I'm kind of confused on the importance of this guy who we just watched die.
Right.
I'm sure. If I don't know if there's more on him or not. If there's not, then I'm not quite sure why it was even important to meet the guy. We learned that already there was a crash and a body and all that. So don't tell me because I'm sure I'll see it. But
Yeah.
to me, that's where I'm just sitting kind of. It's like we met the guy. He didn't really get to tell us much. He died. Okay.
Well, the one thing
why?
I think he does say in there that's important is that there were other people at play here. It wasn't the Pikes that wanted that ship shot down. Remember, he said that.
Yeah, okay, and that's the thing.
That is the part you gotta take with
and
you.
here's where I think that's why I have to give the muddled storytelling. That line didn't jump out to me,
Right.
because there's so many other things. If they'd focused in on that, I think it would have been tighter.
Like they needed him to be a little more crazy and just like shout that out. It wasn't just the Pikes that shot it down. Like
That
something like
would've
that.
been good.
That'd have been enough to draw it out that people would have paid attention to that. But yeah, there's little lines here and there that are so muddled that maybe you just don't recognize it. And I noticed them this time better than I noticed them the first time I watched the episode. So
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I
That's
just-
right.
no, that's okay.
No, just go add on to have a bigger worm or whatever there that he's feeding, and have him strangle it as he's trying to explain to them
That'd be a nice touch.
that it wasn't.
He's getting madder.
Yeah,
He's angry.
right.
That'd be nice.
That would have made a lot more sense there too.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it made Obi-Wan and Anakin go, okay, this guy, we don't believe him,
Right.
type thing,
So good, but just
And
Yeah. Like on the verge of greatness,
Yeah,
but not
yeah.
quite there. Yeah.
and I still don't understand why Jedis can't
Since
a Sith that's 10 feet away from him, or
not
2
even
feet
that,
away from him.
5 feet.
Why not
behind
walk
him?
up behind him and choke them both?
I know,
Exactly.
yeah.
Two Jedi's gone.
Problem solved.
Exactly, he could have took out both of them.
Yeah, why
Come
not
up
just
with
force
lightsabers,
choke
like,
all
sheesh.
3 of them?
Yeah.
And be done with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Or come up with the lightsaber like Eric's saying.
Take their heads off, and then it's like, well, not like the prisoner's going anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it had its moments, it had its struggles. So that's what we have to say about this episode. We'd love to hear what you have to say over there at GalaxyCast website. Click on the button that says "Tell us more." And as we like to say here in the Star Production Studios, as always, may the Force be with those who listen. It's latent. There we go. So that's it, folks. This is our first time doing video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully the quality will get better as we go on.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get some more camera angles as we go on.
Like I
too.
said, for those who've never been here, which is the majority of you, you haven't had the
You haven't
honor.
seen this.
This is there's
side,
some really
yeah.
nice stuff over there. It's his a lot of his
My
gear,
shop
his
gear.
shop for the costume
I have a
building and
whole
stuff.
wall of weapons.
I mean,
that I
there's
keep
and
out.
even getting a better camera up here. There's going to be a bunch of stuff on the shelves back here. It's just going to get missed. The sculpture,
I have a whole
the busts,
Boba Fett area.
the photos up along the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't have everything up. I mean, I've got stuff that are still in storage that I should collect.
I love this. This is like, someday I want to have a huge room like this that's just mine to put stuff in.
I'll admit I'm lucky I have it.
I hate the term man cave. I hate that term.
I hate that term too.
But I would like a media room.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, folks, so that's it for this time.
Bye.
Bye.